Welcome everyone. Today we have our another new episode. We will discuss on climate finance. We have our world famous speaker, Dr. Tamanna. Dr. Tamanna, what you want to discuss about climate finance?
Dr. Sharif, climate finance refers to local, national, and transnational financing drawn from public, private, and alternative source of financing that seeks to support mitigation and adaptation actions that will address climate change. The convention, the Kyoto Protocol, the Paris agreements, all of them had the same agenda that climate financing needs to be taken place. Financial assistance from parties and more financial resources to those that are lesser endowed and vulnerable. You know, and this recognizes that contribution of countries to climate change and their capacity to prevent it and cope with consequences very enormously. Climate finance is needed for mitigation because large scale investment are required to significantly reduce emissions. Yeah, climate finance is equally important for adaptation as significant financial resources are needed to adapt to adverse effects and reduce the impact of changing climate. In accordance with the principle of common but differentiated responsibility and respective capability set out in the convention, developed countries parties are to provide financial resources to assist developing countries. Parties in implementing the objectives of UNFCCC, the Paris Agreement reaffirms the obligation of developed countries to poorer nations. Because you have seen Africa is facing droughts, etc. A lot of problems are there. They have militias, etc. And nobody to take care of. Governments are changing, coups are there. So how would you expect them to sort out their own problems of climate finance? And it's the thing is that environment is of you might save US environment, but what will you do about the whole world? It's our own earth. That's what we need to understand. It's our earth, and we need to take care of the fact that one if you don't have pollution in Europe, but we have pollution in Asia, Africa, Latin America, then the whole world is vitiated. so 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 I guess what they need is that they need to focus on the whole world and not spread pollution out of the out in the space as well. What they have done to earth, please, I hope they don't do to the space. So yeah, that's the whole thing. And the it is important for all the governments and stakeholders to understand and assess the financial needs of developing countries, as well as to understand, because every developing country has its own specific needs, has its own specific problems. So I guess that is what is needed. And to facilitate the provision of climate finance, the convention established a financial mechanism to provide financial resources to developing country parties. The financial mechanism also serves the Kyoto Protocol and Paris Agreement. The convention states that operation of financial mechanisms can be entrusted to one or more existing international entities. The Global Environment Facility has served as an operating entity of financial mechanism since the convention entry into force in 1994. At COP16 in 2010, in fact, Sustainable Development Plan, which is I guess 7 or 17, talks about climate change and financing. That the developing world is responsible. So the UNFCCC website includes a climate financial data portal with helpful explanation, graphics, and figures for better understanding the climate finance process and as a gateway to information and activities funded in developing countries to implement climate action. Um, yeah, so I guess long term climate finance is also another issue which has to be taken care of. You have to break up plans. There can be small term financial climate finance. There can be middle financial goals, and then there can be long term goals. So all of these have to be taken care of. Small term goals can be dams, etc., but medium term goals can be protection of forests, etc., and the long term goals can be carbon footing and all these things which have the fuel which has been used, etc. Oil needs to be reduced as much as possible, because many the energy nuclear energy is not problematic, but the use of it as weapons in wars, etc., is extremely dangerous. So all of these have to be taken care of, and this is what climate finance can do to uh, develop a more sustainable and developing world. Thank you.
What is your closing remarks for today's session?
Dr. Sharif, I feel that uh, not just about climate finance from the developed world to developing world, but developing world themselves have to develop their own capacities, and not depend wholly and solely on the uh, uh, people from the west. Because it's their fight. It's not it's actually the world's fight, but basically if they did it by themselves, that would be much better. And I mean, I know my friends in Africa, for example, young people, they are forming groups to save environment, and they've asked me to speak on this particular aspect. So I mean, I was so happy that they are like so much concerned about environment. And despite the fact that they do not have proper internet, and so webinars are slightly difficult for them to there to happen. So they told me that they want me to speak for them, and help the people. I said we are all the same, and the we are in the same boat. So I guess we need to help each other. So developing world, together they can come together. The global south, what we call global south, we need to come together and develop a system where the climate finance fund is made within the global south, not just depending on global north but global south, and help each other in this endeavor.
Thank you. Thank you for your excellent contribution to World Talent Economy Forum. Thank you. Bye bye and take care.